No one's paying attention. It's all good. All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Tiverton Town Council, Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if everyone would remain standing for one moment, for a moment of silence in memory of former Town Council President Jay Lambert, who did pass away this weekend. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Burke.
Present.
Councilor Janik.
Present.
Councilor DiMederos.
Present.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Paul.
Present.
Councilor Perry.
Present.
Councilor Comito is absent.
Thank you. Before we dive into the consent agenda, actually before we dive into the presentation, Councilor Perry wanted to say a couple of words about former Councilor Lambert.
For those of you who didn't know Jay Lambert that well, Jay was a great counselor back in his day, and I got to know Jay quite well. We were at a meeting one night, and Jay was sitting kind of where Denise was, and it was a tough night. We got beat up pretty bad that night. And at the end of the night, I went up to Jay. I said, how you doing, buddy? He said, that was a tough one. I said, yeah, it was. I said, but you know, Jay, I said, my number one priority will always be my family. I said, and my number two priority will always be my food pantry. And he looked at me and he said, your food pantry? He said, Dave, you got to tell me more about this food pantry. So over the time that me and Jay spoke, and we conversed about the food pantry. So after his political days, lo and behold, on a Tuesday morning, I look up, and who's walking up the stairs of the food pantry? Jay Lambert. I said, Jay, what are you doing? I said, Dave. He says, I come to volunteer. I said, what do you mean, you come to volunteer? I said, I want to be part of this. I said, you want to be part of this? He goes, yeah. I said, of course. He said, I want to help you out. I said, okay. So for 2 straight years, Jay Lambert was a volunteer at the Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry. He was there every Tuesday, every Thursday. And we became great friends. And he made great friends at the food pantry. He met a lot of people. Became friends with the volunteers. And over time, after 2 years, his wife became ill, and Jay had to take care of his wife. And then Jay became ill himself, and he couldn't drive to the pantry anymore. Jay became ill. So I just want to let people know what kind of person Jay was. So yes, I'm going to miss Jay as a member of the council, good friend. I'm also going to miss Jay as a volunteer at the food pantry. And I'm going to miss Jay more as a good friend. Rest in peace, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome our state rep and state senator to present some citations from the State House for the girls softball team.
Thank you, members of the council. We have a little routine. Wally and I have been doing this for like 15 years. Okay. Well, congratulations, girls. Great win. A great win for Tiverton. For us who are the State House, it's a great win for people to know that Tiverton really isn't part of Massachusetts. So, from there, we'll go to Jerry Ann Hasty. Lexi Wasano. Sadie Pickering. Leah Doster. was probably your aunt who used to babysit for the president of the town council. Sarah Polland. Carly Martin. Taylor Faria. Stella Valentino. Liliana Luis. And the folks who made this happen for the girls, the coaches, Michael Brigham. Beth Ferguson. Coach. And last but not least, John Pickering.
Jay has put me on a time limit, so I'll try to be short and brief, but sometimes I can't be brief. Over the years, I've attended a lot of the girls' various sports games in Tiverton, whether it be the basketball team, the soccer team, and volleyball team, actually. And I really enjoyed the playoffs, when Tiverton is in the playoffs, and seeing the fan support and the people really rooting for Tiverton. Remember Sally Black at a lot of the games, bringing the Tiverton costume and really cheering on the team. The tiger, cheering on the team. And this particular team is really special because some of the players, I remember their names from 3 years ago when they played on the 12-year-old All-Star team. And I attended a couple of games at Fort Town Farms, where they played there in the playoffs and they won the championship. But this year was really exciting because I had met Brooke Sower and her mom at the Fort Barton Memorial Day exercises, and she told me about playing in the playoffs. And I said, well, let me check my schedule to see if I can show up for the games. And I was able to attend the game at Tiverton against Narragansett, and then both of the games that were at Rick against Cranston East. And the thing that really impressed me most about this team was their can-do attitude and the fact that in each of these games, this team was actually down. They were losing to Narragansett when this girl hit a home run and it was 13-11 or something like that. And then the team was like nonchalant about it. They came back, everybody did their job. They reeled off about 11 hits in a row, and all of a sudden there was a TKO. They knocked the team out by run total. The mercy rule, exactly. And then the next game was against Cranston East. They were down 2-0 after the first inning. No sweat for this team. They came back and really beat them pretty well, maybe like 15-4 or something like that. Another TKO mercy rule. But really what impressed me was the last game when they were down like 7-2 after like 4 innings. And I was like, when's the next game so I can watch the next game? And I listened in to the coaches, and they had such a positive attitude and such an attitude where we can come back. We can come back from this game. And even the girls themselves, no one got down on someone for making an error or something. They just did their job, got their hits, appropriately tied the game up. They had a little freshman come in to a relief pitcher, and from there, they ended up winning the championship, which shows what a true team they are, the team concept of picking each other up when one's down. And I give all that tribute to the coaching staff because you did such an outstanding job. Thank you. And obviously, there's some players that are missing. We have House and Senate citations for them, which Coach Mike will pass out to them. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And in tradition, Wally and I never try to come to a council meeting without some money in hand. It's different. So if we could have council president, council vice president. We have a check for $2,500 for the Raymond F. Jones Memorial Dog Park.
All right. Congratulations. Congratulations. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, I'd like to move on to the consent agenda. And before I ask for a motion to pull any items off the consent agenda, just want to note that for C2, 3 were taken off by Councilor Burke, and C4 by Councilor DiMedeiros. Would any councilors like to remove any other items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 4C2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed. All right, 4C2 and 3, Councilor Burke.
C2 is really simple, and if the administrator were here, I would have just told him. I think there's a typo, if we can just let him know. It's not something we can necessarily change, but on his report, on the second page of the report, this Excel spreadsheet, worksheet, I think the first column should be 5125. I don't think he's trying to compare us 5 years back. So that's simply that. 4C3, if I may. 4C3. I appreciate the update on the school capital and the town gaming funds that the treasurer gave us. And again, when Patrick gets here, I can let him know of this request. I'd like to see an update on the status of each of the projects that still have funds in them, both for both the school and for the town side.
Councilor DiMedeiros?
I want to thank Brendan for giving us an update of the school finances up to this point. There's still being projected that there's going to be a deficit of $850 to $900K. I'm requesting that we have it doesn't have to be a special meeting, but an item on the agenda where we can talk to the school committee and see what their plans are, because I know they have to report it, and they have to report a plan. And they did get more money from state aid this year, so I don't know if that would be helpful for their deficit, but I'm thinking it might. So I'm requesting the town council president invites them to a meeting to discuss this.
Thank you, Councilor. And given the fact that the budget, well, they haven't finalized their budget, but the final for the budget is coming up in approximately 7 days. I think the first meeting in July would be a good one to get them at.
Thank you.
So with that said, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 4C2 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, none opposed. Next item, public comments. Do we have anybody sign up? No.
There's
Okay.
no one here.
Nice and easy. All right, so appointments and resignations. Acknowledgement of resignation, we'll do these both at the same time. Robert Taylor from the Semiquincentennial Committee, effective June 5th, and Debra Bottomley from the Semiquincentennial Committee, effective June 1st. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept these resignations with regret.
So moved with regret.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed? Next item on the agenda is requesting appointment for the Budget Committee, John Hardman, 1886 Main Road, for a term ending 11/2/2026. Mr. Hardman, thank you for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, I get to start you off, I guess. Why would you like to be on the Budget Committee, sir?
Well, I've been budgeting for 30 years. It ranged from federal government all the way out to Silicon Valley. I spent 15 years as a CFO, managing budgets north of 500 million. I'm a lifelong financial planner. We had an opening and have a burning desire to get back into it.
Wonderful. Any other questions from the council?
Your resume is quite impressive. It really is.
It'll be quite an addition.
All right, so since this has been out there for a minute, I'd like to entertain a motion to waive our policy and appoint this evening.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All right. Now that that's been made, we need a motion to appoint John Hardman, 1886 Main Road, to the Budget Committee, term ending 11/2/2026.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard. And you missed out on all the fun because, you know, the next
My timing's perfect.
the next budget cycle starts in January.
I think,
You can,
John.
you can take the summer off.
John, there was talk that they're going to start like mid-fall this year, so they have a better running of it and understand it before they have to make decisions.
Okay.
So they'll probably notify you in October or November and have a meeting.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is Brian Janes, Open Space Commission, discussion and possible vote to approve application to RIDEM Local Open Space Conservation and Land Acquisition Grant for additional funding to be applied towards the Hick Farm project. Mr. Janes, take it away, sir.
Well, you have the application forms before you, and as part of the application, it's required that we provide evidence of the governing board's consent to make application and its commitment. And so I'm seeking people to go ahead with the application, authorize either the council president or Patrick to sign such a letter.
All right. Seems pretty straightforward. Obviously, we'd like to see this project go forward, and if we can leverage somebody else's dollars, I think that's a good thing. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the application and, I guess, direct the administrator to sign on behalf of the town.
I would move that motion with, inclusive of making sure the language includes that the town council consents to keeping the property open in perpetuity.
Second.
All right.
And can I just make a
Councilor
comment?
Janik.
And also, part of this is that it's a matching fund, so the matching would come from money that's already in your
It's
account.
already been allocated.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? None opposed. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Janes.
Brian, for all your hard work. Thank you.
All right. Next up, Chief Bailey. Update on Tiverton Storm Ready recertification through June 2028. Chief.
Just want to publicly announce that Tiverton got its recertification as a storm-ready community. This was first accomplished back in 2016, when Rhode Island became the first state to have every community certified at storm-ready. So we just, this will carry us to June of 2028, so we're good for 3 more years as a storm-ready community.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief. All right, don't go anywhere. Next item on the agenda is Chief Bailey, discussion and possible vote to approve the repair of fuel pump and system on Rescue 2 not to exceed $25,000, and the purchase of demo Medex Ford F450, I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to say, Type 1 ambulance not to exceed $375,000, Chief.
So we're looking for monies to repair the 2018 ambulance that suffered a significant problem with the motor with the fuel injection system. Also, we were going to be asking for money at the capital meeting to purchase an ambulance. The deputy chief was able to locate one that will be due in the fall that would suit our needs as a fire-based EMS vehicle. I'm going to kind of turn it over to the deputy at this point. He's done all the research on this.
I have a quick question. Is this the one we're buying from Dartmouth?
No, that was the fire engine. That's already purchased, that's already.
So this is a whole new one?
This is an addition. So, as the chief said, so first off, Rescue 2 broke down about a month ago.
I know.
And it has a massive fuel system issue to it. So option is we can spend up to $25,000 to repair the fuel system on that truck. We could have it back in about 2 weeks. The truck does have 138,000 miles on it, 11,000 hours. So it is getting older, it's getting ready to be replaced. We do have a truck on order. The truck on order is not due till July of 2026. So in the process of this, we were looking to, at the next capital meeting, put it in for a new ambulance. The lead times on a new ambulance was 3 years, so about 2 to 3 years for a new ambulance. As we've seen with this truck, it was ordered in April of '23, and we're not getting it until July of '26. So we did a little research, finding a demo vehicle. We found one that's coming available the end of October. It's by MedX. It's the same company that is Rescue 2 right now. The truck is $374,000, and it would be available to us and in service to the town by the end of the year.
Counselor DiMederos.
So how old are our ambulances?
So we have a 2019, which is Rescue 2. We have a 2022, which is Rescue 1 down south. And we have a 2016, which is the reserve ambulance.
So what you'll do is, this one will become an active ambulance, if that's what I want to call it, and put like the 2019 as the reserve?
Yeah, so the plan would be is if we purchase the new truck that would be available at the end of the year, that would become Rescue 2.
Right.
Next year, when the truck that's already on order for the past 3 years, that truck would become Rescue 1. And this 2019, if we repair it, would become the reserve now, getting rid of the 2016. The 2016, if you compared the two trucks, the 2016 is in way worse physical and mechanical condition than the 2019.
Oh, yeah, I would
It would be.
assume it would be.
My personal opinion is it's fiscally responsible to fix the 2019 for $25,000 and have that truck as a reserve.
Eventually.
Deputy.
Well,
If it
you're
was
not
approved-
asking to fix that now, the 2019.
I am,
Okay.
because I don't know, if we
Oh,
would-
I get it.
So if we
Never
were to
mind.
purchase the
I get
new
it.
truck, I can't sit here in good faith
Right,
say to
I
you
get
that
it.
the reserve apparatus is gonna last till the end of the year, running every single day,
I get it.
dozen calls a day.
Okay.
So, Deputy, just to clarify, so the two options in front of us are to buy an additional new ambulance, knowing that we're going to get another one in July of '26 that we've
Yes.
already paid for, essentially.
Through a grant.
Through a grant, yep. And so if we were to fix it, Rescue 2, the 2019, gets back on the road in 2 weeks, the reserve stays as the reserve, and then in July of '26, next year, that Rescue 2 becomes the new reserve, the one that we had already ordered becomes Rescue 2, Rescue 1, still the 2022 stays on the road. Is that correct?
So that's one plan, but that's not what we're asking for. What we're
Right,
asking
because there'll
for.
be 4 ambulances when they all come in.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
so by July of '26, we would technically have 4 ambulances. We'd have Rescue 1, brand new. We'd have Rescue 2, which would be brand new if we purchased this truck for $375. The current Rescue 1 could, in the future, within 2 years' time, become a potential Rescue 3. That's just saying, because that's one hurdle that we would have is to have another truck. So that's one hurdle. Knowing that purchasing all these trucks right now is, the lead times are 2 to 3 years for purchasing a truck. So it was very hard. It was not easy to find a truck that suited the fire department's needs. A lot of trucks that are out there right now for ambulances that are available are basically private ambulance trucks that are transport people back and forth from dialysis to the hospital, not a 911 truck.
So this will come out of the casino money? Capital reserve?
So I would say council contingency for the and I'll defer
Yeah,
to the
'cause I
solicitor,
noticed that
because
there's
this
a
is a
lot there.
repair, so it's not a capital purchase, nor is it a gaming revenue. So my recommendation to the council would be that we pull $25,000 out of council contingency, transfer it into the fire department's repair account so they can repair the rescue.
And
this
then,
fiscal year.
and then the other ambulance, the new one,
Would be a gaming discussion. Yes, that would come out of gaming.
but they need approval tonight,
Yes.
where that's going to come out of.
You
So our capital reserve has quite a bit in there.
definitely have money in the capital if you wanted to choose to do capital, either one. The only difference would be With gaming, you'd have to instruct the solicitor to do a resolution. Capital, we could pull it out tonight.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because we have the money in capital reserve, and the casino is used for several other things, school department and ours. So maybe we should just take it from the capital reserve. It's easier to do it that way, and you wouldn't need a resolution.
And we have it.
And we have it there.
Yes.
And we've been sitting on that, making that go up and up.
Correct.
And I think that would be the better idea right now, so we can keep the casino for what we wanted it to be.
Counselor Janik. And then Counselor Burke.
What is the estimation of years' service for a rescue vehicle?
So as a frontline vehicle, it would be 4 to 5 years, and then in reserve status, it could probably go 8, 9 years to be replaced. Yeah, depending on how much we use the reserve, which depends on how much the frontline trucks are in service.
Whether or
and
not they
broken
break down or not.
Right. So right now, the Tiverton Fire Department does not have a reserve truck. The reserve truck's in service at Station 2. I know all the surrounding departments around us are in the same position with not having ambulances. Middletown actually called me today asking to borrow an ambulance because they are in the same situation with broken down trucks.
So you're estimating that on like past years? Because I know that our ambulance runs have increased, so obviously that's more wear and tear on the vehicle. So does that make it run fewer years?
So the 2019, I would consider that truck should be going into reserve status, which that's what we're looking to do with it. Yeah, I would say it's time for that truck to go into reserve. I would say it's time for the 2016 to be off the road as not as a fire department apparatus. So yeah, I mean, it could be less time due to more calls, but I can't tell you that. I can't give you the exact answer on that.
No, but it would make sense that
Yeah.
if we're having more calls, they're out on the road more, the engines are running more. And the biggest issue is you have to plan so many years ahead. We can't just say,
It's one of the biggest
we'll go to
problems.
the car lot and get one
Right. It's one of the
today.
biggest problems right now is that the lead time for ambulances is 2 to 3 years. Fire trucks, same thing, 3 to 4 years. And like you said, it's not like a Ford F-150 that we can just go to the dealership and say, I'm going to buy this truck today because then we need one. You know what I mean? It's everybody else is buying used trucks, not used trucks, demo trucks, in-stock trucks. No one's building them because no one can afford to wait 3 years for fire trucks or ambulances right now.
And so many, not that many years ago, we were borrowing from all our neighboring, and you would see Little Compton, Warren, and they were our Tiverton guys in
Right.
there. So we definitely don't want to go back
Is
there
that for
again.
leases and that?
Right, and today we had a mechanical issue with Rescue 3. It had a flat tire. The truck had to be out of service for a couple of hours until the tire place could come down and replace the tires. Unfortunately, it's the cost of doing business with these vehicles. They break down, some of the stuff. We try our best to keep up on the maintenance between Tiverton DPW and as well as using our other vendors, but the trucks are used a lot. The ambulances are transporting the citizens of this town to the hospital.
Busy.
So I appreciate the legwork. I appreciate the difficulty in getting these quickly, so this is good. At the same time, if the only way to get this was gaming money, I would be voting against it tonight because I think we're doing too much outside of our cycle with gaming money, and it doesn't allow us to really balance out what all the needs are. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to say, well, you can get this, and I know, Chief, you were up against that a couple years ago. We couldn't give you everything you wanted, but then we start to be able to because we took care of the other needs. If we take this out of capital, I can support it.
And we understand that. We're just looking out for the best interest of the department, and then obviously we know that it's up to you guys to decide. Right, exactly.
Hang on one second, Counselor Perry.
How many miles on that demo truck?
On the demo, 0. It's not even off the line
Oh, it's
yet.
not even off the line.
It's supposed to be available for delivery.
I'm just looking at the revenues. Those trucks are brought in $835,000, I think $355,000, or whatever you're looking for, $375, the bargain. I think we can come up with that money.
Mr. President, I, in concurring with the deputy and validating his assessment with I've spoken to several people I know in other departments. This is something that we need to jump ahead on. Don't jump ahead on this now. Whether it's capital, whether it's gaming, we're gonna fall back into the cycle of having to borrow a truck from Brompton. And those aren't even guaranteed, because Middletown's calling us for a truck.
Right.
The last thing we need is to get back into an apparatus crisis. And if we can get this demo truck and fix that other one, I know it's a lot of money, but it's for the safety of the residents. Again, it's nearing a crisis at this point. And that's nationwide.
Counselor DiMeneres.
Patrick, I don't know if I'm reading this right. Go to page 1, actual and expended. So it's after the revenue. And it says capital, this might not be the fund I'm thinking of, but it says capital leases and not reoccurring expenses, the capital reserve restricted. It said we had 442 in it. Revised is 442. I didn't think we spent this, but it's saying, is that different? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's account 9999.
That's no, so where is it on here?
It's not.
It's not on here.
It would be account, it's municipal capitals.
All right, I just want, I'm not an accountant, and I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this thinking, I just said we had money in it, and it didn't appear that way, so, all
Do you
right,
need a motion?
Yeah, so I think it's probably easiest if we do them in two separate steps, so
So I would,
Counselor Paul.
I would motion to authorize the repairs to the Rescue 2 2019, not to exceed 25,000,
Source of the funds.
to come from council contingency on a transfer.
Okay. Do we have a
Fiscal year 2025.
second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, let's get that one back on the road. Counselor Paul.
I would like to make a motion to approve the purchase of Demo Medics Ford F-450,
Yes.
not 4540.
Typo.
Type 1 ambulance, not to exceed 375,000, to come out of capital reserve.
Fund 640.
Sorry, from the treasurer, Fund 460.
460,
So
not
Fund
640.
460 capital
oh, she must be
reserve.
watching this.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer.
And again, I make that motion, and I just have to reiterate, I'm well aware, and I've read the articles, this is a nationwide issue. If we don't pounce on this truck now, we are in trouble.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, none opposed. Go get it, boys.
Thank you very much.
For the safety of our residents and neighbors.
Next item on the agenda is discussion related to implementation and adoption of a homestead exemption for FY '26. This item is on the agenda as a result of a discussion that came out of Counselor Perry and myself. And I do want to mention that the opportunity for us to implement something along these lines has unfortunately sailed, given that we do need state legislation in order to make this happen. And the state rushed through the budget, and I'm going to put the blame on Senator Felag, who's not here to defend himself, for putting in the wrong bill on our behalf. But I've been assured that next legislative session, that legislation will be back
Which will be,
in front of the General Assembly. It may be as early as October, which is something we could implement potentially at the time, depending on how it shakes out. Councilor Perry.
Yes, I did have an opportunity to speak with Dave Roberts on this, and we looked at some of the numbers and how it would affect certain households. And it would depend on how we actually went about this. If it went a 10% reduction or a 15% reduction. So we would have to come up with some type of a number first before Dave could put it together and give us an actual number on how it would look.
Councilor Burke. So I would just add to that piece, because I know we mentioned the homestead exemption. My original intent was to be more specifically targeted, especially as it related to specific types of property that were severely impacted in the last revaluation. Dave Roberts is not here to defend himself, so.
he is here.
Oh, there he is. He's hiding in the back. Anyways,
thought I saw him.
specifically as it relates to, and some of you guys have received potentially phone calls on this as well, but the mobile home parks took the lion's share of the increase, whereas I think, and again, you can give me more specific information because you do this every day, but I believe it was the average increase for household in the last reval was like 46%, roughly?
The average residential went up around 37%.
Okay, so 30.
But the mobile homes, that went up around 42-ish. So
And
yeah, but to,
some specifics were up like 144%.
it depends on the property type. But one of the things that you just want to make sure that you're not confused in terminology. So the thing that was introduced by your dad had two elements to it. One was a tax classification.
Correct.
And one was a homestead. The homestead, basically, I don't know if you could separate out the mobile homes like you
cannot.
wanted to. The tax rate, you can. So if you do a tax classification, that way you could have a different tax rate for mobile homes. And then if you don't change the tax rate for any other class of properties, the impact on the tax rate for all those other properties would be minimal. If you guys were to implement a homestead exemption, it's much more of a severe impact for non-qualifying properties. As Dave Perry had mentioned, I just ran some really rough numbers. So if you had a 10% homestead exemption on eligible properties, the typical homeowner would save roughly $140. The non-eligible, their tax would increase $530. So because the town of Tiverton doesn't have a very large commercial base, so there's not a lot of properties to spread that homestead exemption out to. I did take a quick look at other communities that do have a homestead exemption. Out of the 11 that I found quickly, only 2 have a less commercial base than the town, but they do have separate tax rates. So there's kind of a shield in that regard. The other towns that do have a homestead exemption that have a higher commercial base, all of their commercial bases are almost double ours. So that's the penalty we have for having a small commercial base. And especially now with them eliminating the tangible tax, that's even less. And most of these homestead exemptions were probably implemented while we were still taxing motor vehicles. So it was much easier at that point in time. I would suggest, and obviously during the summer, we can take a look at it, but I think the enabling legislation for the tax classification, if the town was to introduce their own, I think we can do it basically any time. But there is enabling legislation that would allow us to do a tax classification after a revaluation. And I think that the thought in that process was, at a time of a revaluation, you're changing tax rates anyways, so why not adjust different classes at that point in time? It just makes more sense. But I think that if we introduce our own bill, you can do it anytime.
Correct, and that was what was introduced for the House, but the companion on the Senate didn't quite match, and that's why we weren't able to get that in.
Yeah.
Councilor Perry.
Yeah, we also spoke about, I'll be introducing my 5, 10, 15% reduction for people over 65, 70, and 75. And I think Dave agrees with that one would be more beneficial to people in Tiverton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the senior population is always a population that you're concerned about, taxing them out of their homes and such. So the idea that Councilor Perry had was that currently the town has a elderly low-income tax exemption, and that you do have to have a qualifying income, be a resident for 3 years. I think David's idea was to have a blanket across the board, is that correct? For seniors without that qualifying income. And, I do believe the town of Tiverton does have already in the books a state statute that will allow us to offer a senior exemption without the income element to it. We can just have a senior exemption. Dave Perry's idea was also to have, okay, if you're 65 to 70, it would be X. 70 to 75, X plus something, and then as you get older, it would accelerate to a different number. That would not be a heavy lift also, because I don't think that would really impact the tax rate also.
Councilor Janik.
So is the homestead based on the people who live in that home, their income?
No, so the homestead exemption would just be basically the only qualifying for that is that you are a domiciled resident of the town and you live in your home, and the home depends on the community and what they want to do, but most of the homestead exemption I've seen is that a single family up to a 5-unit would qualify, no income, no value limits. It's just, you would get 10% off your assessment. Mixed-use properties, if you have a commercial first floor, residential second, that would not qualify. And if you're not a resident of the town, which, that's something that we can probably pull from maybe a census data somewhere. But right now, I'm just winging it that if, 95% of the single-family residential homes would qualify, that's where the big shift is to the non-qualifiers.
Because as my kids were looking for homes, there were homes, like in the East Providence, Riverside area, that said, this is eligible for homestead. And I didn't realize it stayed with the home. I thought it
Right.
was the homeowner.
Nope, it's the home.
So
It's the
if,
home.
if
So
we
as
did-
long as you're utilizing that property as your primary residence, you qualify.
But if you sell, the home is still eligible?
Well, it all depends on the ownership.
If you
Right.
did
But
that.
these people are selling homes, like this house is for sale, eligible for homestead.
Yeah.
Right.
Means that people who buy the home live there, they're eligible to get a homestead exemption.
Right.
If they buy it for a rental or a short-term rental, they're
Then
not
they
eligible.
don't. And in most communities I've seen that do offer that homestead exemption, if there is a situation like that where you own it, you sell it to me and I'm just buying it as an investment and I live in Texas, I can prorate the recuperation of those taxes that we gave you, the discount.
So I think sounds like there's some interest from the council in continuing this discussion, so perhaps we put it on a future agenda with some harder numbers in front of us.
Yeah, the only thing I'm just looking for, Councilor Edwards, is just some guidance as far as exactly what the town council would be looking for. Like if you're interested in a homestead, and on top of that, because the bill that was introduced basically talked about tax classification, and within the single-family class 1, you could also offer a homestead. So if you're looking for a combination, I can work up those numbers. If you're looking at, a 10% versus a 20, I can just run those numbers anyways. But if there's anything in particular looking for, some guidance would be appreciated.
Perhaps we could defer to Councilor Perry, since this is of interest to him, to work directly with the assessor, put together some scenarios.
Yeah, and then if you're also interested, I could just work up some numbers as far as that senior eligibility would be.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Councilor Burke.
I will just be clear, I am not looking to change the senior eligibility in a way that it does not include an income level. Because I think we want to help those who can't afford it, but there are folks who are. I'm going to be a senior soon, love to get it, but I think we can probably afford not getting it. And there are plenty of others, so.
All right, Councilor DiMederos.
I do agree that I think it should be income-based, because there are a lot of seniors right now that can afford it. My parents are 90, and they can afford the taxes right now. But there's some people that aren't as fortunate, and I think they should get the break.
Yeah, obviously you guys are the policy decision makers. I have no opinion either way whether or not it should be income-based or not. I know many communities have just a blank senior exemption, but some also do have the income requirements. One of the things that John and I went back about is the mobile homes. The perception is, yeah, those are the people who stress out more financially. But, some mobile homes have recently sold for $140,000, so, I'm not sure if they're struggling necessarily. So it's kind of a delicate balance in trying to figure out who you can help out the most that needs it. But I would agree as far as just trying to be consistent. The senior low-income elderly exemption currently is income-based, and the kind of change that up might be a little confusing. But I think, with the proper, vetting through a town council and workshops, I think we could get the word out and make anything work.
We could increase the income.
Right.
Because inflation and the way that it is right now, we could increase it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we did that a few years ago, and that's a good idea.
Yeah, I
that,
have no problem with
it's
that. We
helped out.
did do that a few years ago.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, I mentioned to John, and it's not going to help out significantly, especially if it's a long-term financial issue with someone. But the town does offer a hardship exemption. It's really meant to be a temporary assistance, like if someone lost a spouse or lost their job. So it's not a long-term type thing. But if anyone does face any type of temporary financial stress, we can assist them in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, next item on the agenda is Town Administrator discussion and possible vote to approve Town Hall flagpole replacement using funds from Capital 640 not to exceed $7,000. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So in line with the ongoing renovations that are happening at Town Hall, I feel, and also with us on the eve of the Semiquincentennial, having a proper flagpole that is not a telephone pole painted white to display our United States flag, our town flag, and our state flag, I feel would be appropriate. This money obviously would come out of the capital fund. I know as part of your backup that you got a quote of a price. Thankfully, given the good advice of our town clerk, knowing that Town Hall is built on ledge. So
It is.
we just want to make sure that we have the proper funding when we plant the pole.
Okay, do we have Councilor Burke?
Should that be 460? 'Cause we just-
I know that this one, I double-checked with the
Okay,
treasurer.
okay.
If she chimes in, but I believe that this one is fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion on this item?
So moved.
All right, so the motion was to
Sorry, I
vote
can
to
make-
approve the Town Hall flagpole
Replace-
not to exceed $7,000 from Capital Fund 640, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed. Next item on the agenda, Town Administrator, update on the residential trash survey. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as you know, the council authorized me to work with a public relations firm to create a survey for our residents so they could provide input on any potential changes to the trash contract, excuse me. And I want to thank the council for their input. I'm meeting with the gentleman tomorrow to finalize it. I will send the finalized version to the council, but I plan on releasing it by the end of the week to the public. I know we've made arrangements to put ballot boxes or boxes at the library, the police department, town hall, senior center, but also we're going to put it on all the social media and all the town's websites as well.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Last item on general business, Administrator Jones, discussion and possible vote to approve amending Resolution 2023-0018 to extend the due date for the committee to report to December 31st, 2026 for the Public Safety Complex Committee. Mr. Administrator.
So moved.
All right. Motion's been made to approve the resolution amendment and seconded motion by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? None opposed. All right, thank you. At this point in time, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed executive session. Administrator Jones, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, collective bargaining update on AFSCME Local 2670A negotiations. And Administrator Jones, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation status update on IAFF Local 1703 versus the town of Tiverton related to firefighter overtime. And Administrator Jones, Rhode Island General Law 42465A5, discussion related to the sale of public property where in advance public information would be detrimental to the interests of the public. Industrial Park. And Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation potential appeal by LNT LLC DBA Saconnet Liquors related to the issuance of a Class A liquor license to East Horizon Incorporated DBA Hotshot Liquors, notification of Department of Business Regulation appeal. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Councilor Burke.
Yes.
Councilor Reddick.
Yes.
Councilor DiMederos.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilor Paul.
Yes.
Councilor Perry. All right, we are now in closed executive session. Thank you.